Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Two Intellectuals and a Fool, episode 6. I think we're going to have an exciting show tonight. We have an exciting guest for you, and we're going to talk about some topics that everybody's been talking about here lately. But before we get into those, I wanted to give my brothers a chance to talk about some of the short things that are going on right now. And I wanted Richard to start to talk about where Brittany Griner is, and if he would make some comments about her coach, her college coach, who is refusing to support her in her uh, being released from prison in Russia. Just to give you a little background on that, they've had an issue when Brittany was getting ready to graduate because Brittany, who I think led them to 2 national championships, I know one at Baylor,
Baylor.
and they had a disagreement because before Brittany left school, she decided that she was going to come out as gay, and her coach didn't agree with it, and they sort of been at odds since then. And now Brittany's in her situation, and she's not supporting her. But I just wanted to see what you had to say about that, Richard.
Yeah. So her coach, Kim, I guess is Mulkey.
Mulkey. She's at LSU now, by the way.
Yeah, at LSU. I guess she was interviewed, asked to comment on it. I think the interview was cut off. She came back on and she said, well, I don't have a comment, or I won't comment on it. And then I think reiterated that. And as you stated, I mean, there was not, there seemed to be some bad blood, if you will, when, Brittany made her decision to, identify as being gay. But let me also talk about, I don't have any updates on what Brittany's situation is other than, the process is still working. All the parties, attorneys and representatives are doing their thing. But I kind of think that given the situation that's happening in Russia now with the war and with some of the political moves that Putin is making, I would be a little more concerned. Although I don't have any additional information, related to that. So as far as her situation goes, I don't really have anything new. I guess that, there's been other comments that are kind of in line with this coach. I mean, there is a feeling out there that, hey, she knew it, she knew what the situation was. She had the stuff on her. She broke the rules. She has to pay the price. I mean, I've heard that comments, not necessarily in the media, but just lunchroom talk, if you will. I mean, I think it's just a further example of just, what's happening in this country and how, and the volatileness of the situation, because you've got all different kind of issues related to it. Brittany as a woman, as a Black woman, as a gay woman, having a relationship, having some high profile and being somewhat wealthy. So still hope that she can, make it back to the States and safe and sound. And I think that possibility is still there, but it's as you can see, it's it's getting kind of dicey in a way.
Coach, you got any comments about that? Did you hear about that?
No, not really, Coach. It's not necessarily one of those things that's surprising to me. That coach doesn't represent the United States of America. She represents herself. as a human being with her thoughts. Sometimes thoughts are, have merit. Sometimes thoughts are ridiculous. And so at the end of the day, she's saying whatever it is she's saying, and media is going to jump on that. It's going to put it out there. So, that's really all I have to say in reference to that.
Well, one of
Well,
that complicates the matter too. Baylor is a Baptist school, in kind of South Texas, so, and Texas is a very conservative state. So I'm sure that had some uh, sway over the situation as well.
you mean her initial conflict with Brittany?
Yeah, and just and the school itself,
Well, but
She recruited Brittany, man. The fact of the matter is she recruited Brittany. And she knew what the deal was with Brittany before Brittany even got there would be my guess. And again, like I said, human beings will say some things with merit, and some things they'll say will just be ridiculous.
yeah.
And I put that comment on her. I don't put it on the school. I don't put it on the country. I put it on her.
Well, I think it was said that perhaps you're right, Coach. She did know about Brittany's situation, but I think that what she was upset about was that Brittany had committed to not share her personal situation with the world until she was drafted, and Brittany chose to do it while she was still a student at Baylor. So either way, it was Brittany's. I mean, she is what she is, and she was what she was, and I don't think that I don't care if she went uh, to the Catholic diocese to she is what she is. She ought to be able
That's
to
right.
say what she is. So
That's right.
let me ask you about since like I always say, we all baseball guys. Aaron Judge hit 6-1 last night, I think. Tied Roger Maris. Where do y'all stand with him hitting breaking his record, and how you feel about what his status is breaking that record compared to other home run hitters?
So what he did was he tied another great Yankee, is what you're saying.
Well, I mean,
Another great New York Yankee is what he did. He tied another great New York Yankee, and so for me, I'm ecstatic about that. I'm ecstatic for Aaron Judge, because I like him as a player. I don't like the way that he's necessarily been treated by Cashman, um, uh, in reference to the contract and that type of thing. But then again, I'm having to adapt to certain things, because what I know is that if Senior Steinbrenner was here, Cashman probably still wouldn't even be on the payroll right now.
you know,
Aaron Judge is one of those guys who he hadn't caused any problems to my knowledge. And I know that Cashman did the exact same thing with Jeter, not comparing Judge and Jeter, but he did the exact same thing in regards to Jeter. So I can't forget that in regards to
you
that.
know what I have to adjust to is your allegiance to teams all over the geographical map that have no merit whatsoever. Philadelphia basketball, Pittsburgh
Yes.
football,
Yes.
and the Yankees. What is that, man?
I'll tell you what that is, Coach. My
what
my
is that?
mom.
There's no dedication whatsoever.
No, let me tell you what that is.
That's
No, 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 no,
bandwagon.
no.
That's
No, let me tell you
bandwagon
what that
stuff.
is. My mom has lived in Philadelphia for over 40 years. And I was always there, and the only basketball team I ever pulled for was the 76ers, because you know how I feel about Doc Irving. In reference to the Yankees, my dad has lived in New York for over 40 years, and the very first time he took me to a Yankee game, it was a done deal. Listen, I used to go to a lot of Phillies games too, met a lot of those players. But when I turned that corner and I looked up and I saw Yankee Stadium, and I walk in, and the very first game I see, Mickey Rivers is leading off with Willie Randolph batting in the 2 hole, and I have Thurman Munson and Reggie Jackson and those boys. Yeah, Yeah. See, so what I am is I'm just a loyal, committed guy.
Well,
Once
you
I'm for you,
listen.
I'm for you.
You're not a real Yankee fan if you
Oh, I'm a
know
Yankee fan.
if you don't know Bobby Richardson, Tony Kubek, Joe Pepitone.
No, that just
And,
means I'm not old. That's all that means. That
I
just
mean,
means I'm
you
not
need
old.
to know the history.
That doesn't mean that I'm not a Yankee fan.
I know the
That just means
history.
I'm not old. And Richard, he tells us that all the time. I'm the old buck on the show.
That's
You guys
right.
don't know anything.
And
Hey, listen, what?
I know the history. That's all I'm saying. Forget about that, Richard. What do you think about Judge? I think I'm like Coach though. I think it's a good thing. I like Judge. I like the way he carries himself and he can hit that baseball.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing. It's he's a good player, and I'm glad that he did it. I hope he gets 62. I don't know if the Maris family was on hand when and I'm struggling. I'm looking at his face.
The Bash Brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was game. Sosa was there, and
Yeah.
Mick. I'll think of it in a minute, but they were on hand when he tied the record. I think maybe
Yeah.
broke in St. Louis. So I guess they'll show up for that. The other one that is a little bit more interest to me, and I don't know where it stands, is Albert Pujols.
He hit 700.
He got to 700.
Yeah, he got 700. He hit 2 in one game.
I hadn't heard that. Well, that's that. I think I look at that, and you look at a very long career. Most of it.
If you play 40 years, you ought to hit 700.
That's right, Coach. Right now, I'm looking at a guy like Judge, and I'm not even having those same conversations. I'm like, you know what? I have to make sure that I give Judge all the credit in the world.
Over 22 years.
Over what? 42 years.
22 years.
32 years.
Hey, something is wrong with y'all here. 22 years. Get 700 home runs. Great career. Living a life that he probably could only dream of as a young man, because he's from the Dominican Republic, I think.
I don't know where he's from, but yeah, I give him a little credit, but he played a long time. That's like giving LeBron the Kareem's record. I don't put too much stock in that.
Well, I mean, you got to have the same thing with with any Hank Aaron and Jeter and all those guys. They played a long time, and it's something to be said to be able to do something well, over a long period of time, and particularly in a sport that is as difficult as baseball is and as demanding as it is. And then at his age, I don't know what his home run total is for this season, but his age, be able to hit that ball and hit that ball out of the park, with those balls coming at you 95, 97, 98, 100 miles per hour.
Well, let's move forward before I have to start talking about Barry Bonds.
We don't want to talk about that. No, we heard that every show. We don't want. But anyway, you're right, Coach. We want to let you go ahead and introduce our guest for tonight, and we want to welcome him in and have a little talk with him.
Yes, it is my pleasure to introduce Coach Anthony George to the show. Anthony does a lot in regards to the community. He's a business owner here. His facility, Carolina Courts, they go about the business of trying to assist families with producing the best young people they possibly can on the basketball side, the volleyball side. He even takes it full circle because I think they do some pickleball there as well, Coach. You need to get into the pickleball, Coach. You have to. Hey, listen, you have some folks in pickleball, Coach, who might want to give you a run for your money.
Man, you see how I'm moving right now. This is quick as I'm gonna move.
Yeah. So it's my pleasure to introduce Coach Anthony George, a friend, and I appreciate everything he does. So Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Really good start to the show, and excited to add on to it, but really excited to be on. Thank you so much.
So Anthony, tell us a little bit about Carolina Courts and what you do there and what you guys are trying to accomplish within the community.
So Carolina Courts is a sports facility. We have 2 locations in Charlotte, one in North Charlotte and one in South Charlotte. Carolina Courts, Indian Trails, our South Charlotte location. Then we have Carolina Courts in Concord, which is our North Charlotte location. Like you said, Coach Fisher Davis, we are a primarily basketball and volleyball sports facility. We have youth from 5 years old all the way through adult in both basketball and volleyball. And just to your point, Coach, we're trying our best to make a difference, help kids, and make them have some fun and learn some life lessons out there on the court. It's year-round programming. 12 months a year. We are doing those 2 sports. We have really great staff with great coaches, and we just love the impact that we're able to make, not just for the youth, but the entire community as a whole. We're able to do a ton of sporting events throughout the year, AAU basketball tournament, kind of like a mini, expo center. The 2 communities in Concord and Indian Trail have been great, and we really love working with those communities, and not just those 2 communities, but working with everyone around them as well.
Oh, fantastic. And it's interesting, and not to throw out any names. Now, don't throw out any names, but you have some high-end college basketball coaches who actually come into your facility and to recruit and see some of the players that you actually have. And I know that you guys do a lot in reference to skill drill and development as well. And so, we appreciate that a great deal. One question I have for you, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues. So when COVID came in, obviously you couldn't have a lot of individuals in the facility. And then when it started to open up, it was a certain number that you could actually have. And now that all those restrictions have been lifted, what has it been like seeing the parents and the kids and the folks back inside the facility?
Coach, I lost you there for a second. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
He froze.
What has it been like having individuals back in the facility since the COVID restrictions have been lifted?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pandemic was really tough, not just obviously across the world and in our country and in our community. It was hard for Carolina Courts. We kind of banded together, stuck together, did our very, very best to continue to prepare for post-pandemic during the tough part of it. And I think we came out stronger. It has been a phenomenal surge of people back into the facility, people trying to get out of their houses, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, trying to come back and watch their grandkids, their sons and daughters play sports. It's really, really been a wonderful sight. To your point, Coach, when we opened up, we were doing 2 kids per court. We have a 48,000 square foot facility, 16 kids in the gym. And that was kind of what we were working with to start. But, I count our blessings because we were one of the only, businesses that were allowed to be open at that time. We did close for almost 2 months, 2.5 months. And to see kind of where that was to where we are now, it's a marvelous, wonderful thing. And I count my blessings all the time. But to your point, Coach, it has been really, really a wonderful thing to see people back in the facility for the events, for practices, for tournaments, it kind of feels like it did prior to the beginning of the pandemic. So it's been a whirlwind, but we are very happy that we're on this side of it. Obviously, we know there's still some challenges with the pandemic, but we're very happy where we are right now.
Good.
Coach, I had a question for you, Anthony. I'm surprised that we haven't met before as much money as I spent at Carolina Courts. I should be a partner. But I wanted to ask you, I know you do a lot of things, and I know that LaMelo Ball is partnered with y'all to do certain things. And I was looking at that shirt you're wearing, 1-of-1 Prep. Could you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So 1-of-1 Prep, it is a independent high school basketball academy. That's the best way I can explain it to you, Coach. Yeah, we partnered with LaMelo Ball and his business manager, Jermaine Jackson, on doing a boys and girls high school prep academy. We play independent national schedules, and this is year 2. So very, very excited about our season coming up. Both the boys program and the girls program, top recruits from across the country. We're both playing national schedules against some of the best teams across the country and internationally this year. We're playing a national schedule, almost 40 games. It's it's pretty much 12 months a year program. And yeah, we're playing about 40 games this year, and traveling across the East Coast, and have been invited to some of the very best and most prestigious tournaments that North Carolina has to offer. Our girls program is going to be playing in the John Wall Classic. We're also in the Charlotte Hoops Challenge this year. And we've been able to bring together like-minded kids who want to play at the next level and weren't getting the experience or I guess you say the experience that they wanted in a high school, right? Like, I coached 7 years at Cuthbertson on the boys side in Union County. And then I went over to Piedmont High School, both really great experiences. I started on the girls side of Piedmont. I coached there for 2 years, and just during the pandemic, it became really hard. And we had enough girls in the greater Charlotte area that wanted a little bit more than what high school was able to give them. I'm a huge advocate of high school sports, big fan of Union County, Mecklenburg County, Cabarrus County. But we just felt like we could offer something a little bit different, a little bit more, just a little bit more intense. And we really wanted to put like-minded kids together. You guys been around basketball in the Charlotte area for a long time. Coach Fisher Davis had a really, really good group of girls that he used to coach when his daughter was playing, and they were like-minded kids. It's just not the case, and it hasn't been the case for the last, several years. And we're able now to bring kids together that want to be in the gym, that are preparing to play collegiate basketball. And it's been a phenomenal experience. And yeah, we are very excited for our second season. Currently, we're in a fall league up in Concord with Ball Her Hoops. Our girls we have 2 teams in there, both doing extremely well as we prepare for our long high school season that starts in the beginning of November.
Now, Richard, I don't mean to cut you off. So most of your girls come from the Charlotte area?
Yeah, I would say we got girls in, South Carolina, but like on the border, it's majority are Charlotte-based kids. Yes, sir.
Well, as long as you don't have any Mallard Creek girls, we good.
Not currently, Coach. Not currently.
You need to cut the boundary at Mallard Creek.
Don't worry. We'll put a big fence around it for you.
Yeah, do that, because we got some young girls over there that's going to be good, and we think we can do something with them. So
I agree. We actually played Mallard Creek in the Cox Mill, the summer tournament that they had over there, and we think that Mallard Creek's going to have a really bright future, and those girls you got some really good players. So, congratulations and good luck. I'm excited to watch them grow over the season.
Well, I'm back over there. That's what's going to make the difference.
All right, Richard. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, Anthony, you said a couple of things that raised some questions. I mean, in your communities that you operate, you talk about the good partnerships that you have. Obviously you have, the partnerships with like AAU, like all the local teams, Carolina Courts is kind of a fixture as far as, tournament basketball and the like. And then you mentioned that you coached at Culberson. So you got a couple of alum over there. Was it Sheldon Mitchell, the Clemson alumni, and if you could update us on where he is now. But if you would just talk about those relationships and how they contribute to the success of your operation?
Yeah, I mean, being in Union County has been a blessing for me. I actually, it's funny you mentioned Cuthbertson. I coach, like I said, I coached there for 7 years. I fell in love with the area down here. I actually, during the pandemic, I found a house in Millbridge, which is it's a community inside of the Cuthbertson School District. So just it's crazy how kind of things kind of come full circle, and love to have my experience when I coached there on the boys' side. Love the area, love the neighborhood, and love the school. And I just thought it'd be a great place to raise a family. I have two young children in the household, and I thought Cuthbertson was a wonderful, wonderful place to grow, to raise a family. So we're still here now, and we're excited about that. Being involved in Carolina courts, not just on, like you said, the event side where we're kind of a staple, but knowing families. I walk around with a Carolina court shirt. I see somebody in Harris Teeter, or I see somebody at Smoothie King, or I see somebody, just at a high school football game, like, oh, you're the guy from Carolina courts. And it's, you don't remember everybody's face, but you kind of have an idea that you ran into them in Carolina courts. And that's a wonderful thing. And being from New York, I'm from New York City, and I kind of heard your little, spiel about Aaron Judge, and very excited about the Yankees. And, that 61 is great. 62 will be better. And World Series number 28 will be the best. So that's what we're excited about. But being from New York and coming down here and being welcomed and being able to meet, meet some wonderful people and build some really lifelong friendships and relationships, not just as a business owner, but like as a friend and family. It's been wonderful. And I attribute that to Carolina courts. And I attribute my family wanting to, continue to stay in the county from meeting great people and Cuthbertson being one of those things. I mean, like I said, we found this neighborhood because of how much of a great experience I had coaching there for 7 years. So,
Gary, I think you had something you wanted to comment on when we reverted back to that Yankee talk.
No, he didn't want to comment.
No,
he sat up, but he did not want to comment.
No, I did.
Hey, Anthony, listen, we appreciate your being on, and I would ask that you just continue to do what you do. I'm there periodically, and I get to see it, and I see the work that you do with the young people. I see the type of coaches that you try and put in front of the young people as well. There's a lot of other exciting things that are also happening at Carolina Court, and at some point in time, if you're amenable to it, we'd love to have you back on the show to talk about some of those things as well. So we appreciate your being here, and obviously, as I always tell you, if you ever need anything, just let me know and say hello to the family.
Absolutely, fellas. I really do appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a blast and an honor, and thank you guys so much.
I just want to tell you before you left, Anthony, that I've had quite a few experiences at Carolina courts in both facilities, girls and boys, and I've always had nothing but praise. I like the setup. I like the parking. Concord is a little tight, but the parking is good, and the games are always well ran. And so you have a few parents that go crazy every now and then, but other than that, it's been good.
Coach Sargent, I will tell you to answer the parking question in Concord. They built 2 huge parking decks within 2 minutes of a walk, so that's good. And yeah, the parents being a little bit out of the ordinary. We tried our best to mitigate that. It's gotten a little bit worse since the pandemic, but we're continuing to try to make that better. And we are doing our best. And I really appreciate the kind words because it means
froze them out. All right, fellas, let's get back to the agenda. I think Coach George is a young dude making all that money, man.
He does a fantastic job, man.
He does.
He was one of the first ones to really jump on some of the things that we were doing as far as Equilibrium Up is concerned. All his coaches go through our sessions and our programs in reference to loving their players and treating them with respect. And then a number of his programs, the young people go through leadership development and character building sessions as well. And there was no hesitation from him in regards to that. And I thank him a great deal in reference to that, and I know that the parents do as well.
Well, a lot of people had talked about building that kind of facility before he actually did it, and he did it, and it's been a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into our agenda for tonight. And the topic that's been going around my house because my wife and I are both from Mississippi, and she is a University of Southern Mississippi graduate, the home of Brett Favre, and let's talk about what we know about Brett Favre being accused of basically taking money from poor people in Mississippi and using it for his own personal use. I know y'all read the articles. Richard, what do you think about what he's done, and give a little bit more details about it if you would.
Well, I think you summarized it pretty well. Is that Brett Favre with some state officials accessed money that was earmarked for welfare recipients. I don't know if it was COVID related money or state, social service type programs, with the intent of funneling it to his alma mater. I think his daughter is playing volleyball there, and it was, he was the conduit for funneling the money to the school. Also, he was paid over $1 million for speaking arrangements, speaking events for which he took the money, but never conducted the speaking events. And so I mean, it's kind of the and the fact that as the evidence was obtained, it was clear that he knew what he was doing was at a minimum questionable and a maximum criminal.
Well, what makes it even more egregious is one of the ex-governors of Mississippi was involved in the scheme with him and encouraged him to do it.
Yeah, and Shannon Sharp, I think, had a very good commentary on it. And Shannon, he can get worked up about it, and and he basically came with, hey, Brett Favre was a good football player. John Madden, hyped him up and made him a bigger than life status. Shannon didn't question his skills as a football player. His brother, played with him, and but it kind of brought to mind, and this is a little bit off topic, but I don't know if y'all remember the one season T.O. was playing with Philadelphia, and
Yeah.
I think he either tore his Achilles or
played with a broken leg.
Yeah, and it was early enough in the season where if Philadelphia extended the season, there was a chance that he could play in the Super Bowl, and so he went about a rehab process to do that. And he was questioned by reporters. Aren't you being selfish and the like? And T.O., I think, correctly said, "Well, hey, look. If I was Brett Favre, you guys would be sitting here talking about, how tough I am and how much of a warrior I am and all that kind of thing. But here you are, questioning me." And that kind of gets to what Shannon was saying, is that Shannon pointed out several things about Brett Favre that, were somewhat questionable. He just, he was clearly critical.
No, just say what he did. He sent a naked picture of himself to a reporter, showing his thing, showing his work.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of several things, But Brett Favre has gotten a pass, because of this, persona I'm sure if you talk, to some Green Bay Packer people, you might get a different story, and they probably, not shedding a tear over what's going on with Favre now. So, and it's again, it gets back to what Harry Edwards said about sports. Sports gives you kind of a view into what's going on in life. Here you got a wealthy guy that has access, and he's taking money from poor people for his further benefit, or for those around him further benefit.
No, what it makes me think of, being from Mississippi, and I give you a chance to speak, Coach, is his feelings toward people that he thinks are losing out on this money, that he doesn't care anything about them at all, and he thinks that they are less than him. So, he's saying to himself, this is my opinion. I don't care what they need. I'm going to take this money and the hell with them. And that's typically an attitude of some folks in the state I love, and it's a poor state in the union. So to me, the hell with Brett Favre, and to hell with him. Go ahead, Coach.
I think you hit the nail right on the head, Kerry. That's the essence. You can draw a straight line to what's happening in Jackson with the water.
Yeah. They already have nothing, and you don't give a damn about taking what little bit they got. There's no empathy, no sympathy, no nothing. All you care about is what you want. And it's been like that in the state of Mississippi and a large part of the United States for a long time. And I'm not surprised by him doing it. And, anyway, Coach, go ahead.
Well, I think you guys have said everything in regards to it. Again, it's about, you would hope that folks would want to be the best human being that they could possibly be. That's what you would hope. And, Brett's actions suggest that, in his mind, I guess he was being the best human being that he thought that he could possibly be. You take advantage of situations, and you take advantage of individuals who are in need, and that is shameful. Is that reflective? The sport mirror society? No, I don't think so. I think that what happens quite often, when you're on different teams and you're dealing with individuals within those organizations, there are certain things that are taking place, and at the end of the day, these individuals are going through some of the exact same things. But most importantly, these guys and these women, they have money, so they treat one another as someone else would treat someone else who has money, as opposed to anything else. And Brett has been put on a pedestal, and Brett has been provided commercials. And then when you take a look at Sunday football games, and those guys who are actually the commentators and things of that sort, we always pick and choose who we want to put out there and who we want to put on a pedestal. And I think that's probably what T.O. was talking about, to be honest with you. That Richard actually brought up. I think that's probably what T.O. was talking about. And when are we going to go about the business of judging individuals based upon the content of their character, as opposed to these external factors? And what Brett did was wrong. So that's I don't know what else I could possibly say in reference to him.
Coach, I think you make a good point about people dealing with people that they think are in their financial category. But I don't think that's even the case with Brett. I think that he associated with people as a football player because he needed them for his own success. And the only reason he did deal with them is because he needed them. He needed Sterling Sharp to catch touchdown passes. He needed them. He didn't care nothing about Sterling Sharp, but he needed Sterling Sharp's skill. That go back to people in Mississippi needing sharecroppers once they were emancipated and let, free the slaves. Once they couldn't, master them that way, they found another way to master them so that they could use their abilities for themselves. And I think, to me, this is a perfect example of what is ingrained in the psyche of some people in the state of Mississippi and other places in the United States of America. So I'll leave it at that because I can go on and on and on talk about Brett. Anything else you want to say, Lancaster, Richard?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, and you made it plain and covered it.
Let's talk about the other issue that's going on right now in the NBA, the sport I love. The Boston Celtics coach, Ime Udoka, was suspended for a year for having a relationship with a employee of the Celtics. Udoka is the head coach of the Boston Celtics, was until he was suspended. And he was caught having an affair with another worker in the Boston Celtics organization, and they suspended him. A female staffer that he was caught, and I think she was married too. What do y'all think? Do you think the punishment was just? Because we know that's an activity that goes on throughout corporate America. And like I told Coach, of course, I've never done it, but he who was without sin cast the first stone. So tell me what you think about, do you think his punishment fit the crime? Coach Fisher Davis.
I think you and I talked about policy and the fact that at some point in time, the organization put it in a policy that you're not to have those types of relationships. It's very, very interesting now because I kind of asked the question, why would it be in the policy? I would conclude, not 100% certain, but I would conclude that perhaps that type of activity has taken place before. And, two consenting adults in regards to that. But if it's in the policy, if they're trying to send a message, to suspend someone for an entire year, and I still don't believe that we have all the information, to be honest with you. I think individuals just kind of gave us what they want to give us, and that was pretty much it. But then there's that second twist. That second twist is apparently the lady was also married. And it's interesting, Coach, because you've been in the military, and there's certain things that you can do, Coach. But this whole thing about what individuals deem to be adultery, even the military looks and frowns upon that, and individuals have been discharged because of that as well. So I don't know if the same punishment would have been levied if they were both just two single consenting adults. I have no idea, but I also don't know what transpired with her. The last that I heard, Udoka was actually relieved of his duties, but I don't necessarily know what ramifications, one way or the other, she would have suffered for being a part of that. So, I mean,
Well,
I think they were setting an example, and so I mean, I don't, as far as the severity of it, I don't know because I just don't believe that they provided us with everything that transpired.
Well, two things I had to say about that, and I'll let you go in a minute, Richard. the ownership or the organization had a press conference, and the question was asked, what's going to happen to the lady involved in this affair? And they said nothing. The only thing that was going to be done, has been done, is suspending the coach for a whole year. Now, you can have an opinion about that. You know, and the other thing is, well, I forgot what the other thing is. Anyway, Richard, that's the one thing. But anyway, Richard, what do you think?
I guess, you know, without, you know, well, my comments are probably, you know, going to be, you know, a little, I don't know what the right term is, but, you know, maybe off the subject. I mean, it's, you know, there's nothing, you know, it's another, here we go with another situation that just has you know, a lot of bad ramifications to it. There's again, it's, you know, like you said, Kerry, I mean, you know, the relationships in the workplace are a common thing. You know, like you said, James, you know, there are policies. You know, I mean, that, you know, you put any kind of employee handbook together and there's some kind of policy, you know, relating to that. You know, the whole issue, you know, people have are required to have sexual harassment training, and, you know, so you talk about you know, not having relationships if you're the supervisor, and not having relationships with people that report to you. You know, I mean, I saw an interview with Matt Barnes, and he was asked about it, and it kind of fell in the realm of two categories. You know, the first thing he said was, it's a common thing that there are relationships that are had between members of the team and people in the organization or the cheerleaders. You know, that's just kind of common fare with probably most of the teams in the NBA and probably throughout sports. This second thing, and he didn't get into it, he was asking to talk about the family situation. And he stayed away from that, and he readily admitted. He said, hey, look, you know, hey, I've had plenty of issues in my family. But you know, you know, those are the two, at least two of the aspects of this thing is that, you know, you work in a workplace. There's a lot of high profile people. There's a lot of people. They're away from their families and their loved ones. You working late. You working close together, and, you know, inevitably, you know, something is going to happen. You know, it's an unusual case, you know, that it doesn't happen. The second thing is that, you know, it's going to impact the family. And in the case of you being high profile, it's impacting the family in a very high profile way. And that has a cost that, you know, won't be seen but for 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years down the road.
Well, let me ask y'all another question relative to that. If he was not involved with a high profile actress like Nia Long, if it was Nia McGillicuddy, would it got the same kind of press that it got with him being involved with her?
Well, I didn't even know that he was involved with her, Coach, to be honest with you. I mean, I had absolutely no idea.
How do you read the story and not know that?
Yeah.
Coach, I didn't say I read the story.
Yeah,
I read that story.
and
Coach, listen, you know, some of these things that take place, man. My thing is that what people do sometimes, it no longer shocks and surprises me. How we respond to it is the thing that shocks and surprises me.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Because what happens is that we treat them differently. You know, kind of like what you were just saying in reference to Brett Favre. You know, some people will see Brett Favre and they won't necessarily feel the exact same way, have the exact same angst that you do in regards to a Brett Favre. And the idea behind it is, what are we seeing what are we seeing that is actually different? That is different. I mean, for me, if this is something that's happening with the coach, and they were two consenting adults, and you come out, you give a press conference, you say, well, we're going to suspend him for a year. The young lady who happens to be married, we're not going to do anything in regards to that. I'm like, well, a policy is a policy. If unless for whatever reason she came out and she could have said, I was pressured because of blah 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 blah. Okay, but everything is always so relative. It depends on who it is. The act can be the same, but it depends on who it is in regards to how we're going to view it, how upset we're going to be about it, whether or not it's going to be some sort of major story one way or the other. This should just be reflected upon the policy itself. If this is your policy, if you're going to suspend him for a year, then because he wasn't out there, he wasn't dressing up like a woman and actually going out with himself, I don't believe. There was another party that was involved too. Then there should be some repercussions in reference to that as well. And that's what we don't do. And we seem to sit back and be just fine with the fact that, some individuals can have a certain punishment leveled against them, and then other individuals don't. And for me, I'm just always about consistency in reference to it. It's either policy or it's not.
Yeah, Kerry, I think the answer is it probably wouldn't, and basically because of what Matt Barnes said, it's a common. He said it's a common thing that happens in the league. He happened to be married to a high-profile person. I don't, again, I don't know what the relationship is. The working relationship is between him and the person that he had the affair with. But does the punishment fit the crime? There probably, in this particular case, there probably should be some punishment. I mean, I'm sure the young lady's husband who he had the affair with, raised some sand over it.
Then maybe Neil Long should have raised some sand then, and then we could have just called it quits.
His spouse probably raised some sand over it, and it's a public thing that reflects on it reflects on the team. But like I said, the deeper issue is the tragedy of the fact that you got you have this thing happen, and it clearly is going to change the relationship of all the people that are involved, and and you might be able to make a case, hey, that's punishment enough. And the team is probably looking at it from the standpoint of, to the extent that we don't do something, this is an issue that's going to maybe have a little life to it, in particular too, if the Celtics don't come out of the block.
Well, I think
and follow up on the type of season that they had last year.
I think they had no choice. The organization had no choice but to do what they did, because the husband found out about it, and he threatened them that if they didn't do something about it, he was going to go to the press and report more of the details and even what they did. So they were pressured to do something.
Yeah, that was the other thing Barnes said, is that there's a little more to this story, right?
Right. Yeah. And the question, and the thing is, if it's a private matter, it got out fairly quickly to the public, and they couldn't keep it in house. So,
the scroll says that it was, I guess some portion of the relationship was caught on the home camera, right?
Yeah, that's how he found out about it.
Yeah,
he heard a private conversation on the home camera, and then that's when he reported to the Celtics.
Yeah,
that's how he found out. He never would have known if old buddy didn't go to the house, knocking on the door, trying to do whatever he was trying to do. So
whatever he was trying to do, whatever he was trying to get.
And the other rumor is that she wasn't the only one. There was several others. And whenever you have an affair, and you're not the main, you the side chick, you really gonna raise a fuss. So he got caught out of pocket. It's unfortunate, and hopefully his career can be recuperated. After this, because I thought he did a great job with the Celtics, and it had, like I told y'all before, I think it had to be something really drastic for them to be forced to get rid of a coach that just went to the championship.
But the sad thing is that when things like this happen, there's a tendency to, make it a lot, broader. Like the whole league, is, everybody's messing with everybody, right? And it's probably, out of, if you take 100 people, this might be, I don't know, 10 of them, right? There's 90% of the people that are, conducting healthy relationships, his coach would say, going about the business of, living life in what would be deemed, acceptable social type behavior, and doing what they do in private, from that standpoint.
Good luck to him.
That's the kind of the sad thing about this whole thing, man.
Good luck. All right, let's go to the favorite part of the show. Everybody's favorite. Play, bench, or cut. And since it's football season, it's starting to heat up, and you got things going on. I want to do two quick ones. I know we're running out of time, but I want to do two quick ones to see what y'all think of these. The greatest running back in the history of the NFL is Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton. Play, bench, or cut.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm gonna play Jim Brown, and I'm going to bench Walter Payton, and I'm going to trade Barry Sanders for 10 first round draft picks. For 10 first round draft picks.
He just won.
You don't want to do the
first
right
round
thing.
draft picks, coach.
You don't want to do the right thing. What you say, Rich?
I'm gonna play Big Jim Brown. My dad grew up. I mean, that was the standard of a football player, and he hung out with him a little bit when we lived in Cleveland. So I'm gonna play Big Jim Brown. I think I'm gonna bench Walter Payton, Sweetness out of Jackson State, and with a heavy heart, I'm gonna cut Barry.
Well, fellas, I think one time before we came close to unanimity, but today, for the first time that I can remember, I'm gonna start Jim Brown. I'm gonna bench Sweetness, like you say, Jackson State University Tigers, prime time. I'm gonna bench him, and for heaven's sakes, I'm gonna have to cut one of the sweetest runners, the nicest moves in the history of the NFL, Barry Sanders, which is hard to do.
I knew eventually you'd come around, coach.
But for the first time,
I knew eventually you'd come around.
Y'all finally got lucky and got it right to agree with me.
What's the second one, coach?
The second one is quarterbacks. Play, bench, cut. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Joe Montana.
Say that again, coach.
Do I need to repeat it?
Yeah, because I ain't hear Terry Bradshaw. But say it again.
Terry Bradshaw's a square. We ain't
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
Terry Bradshaw, we had to get in the 20s to even rank him.
Say it again.
Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Joe Montana.
Would you like for me to go?
You can go.
I'm going to play. I'm going to play Tom Brady. I'm going to bench Joe Montana, and I'm going to trade Peyton Manning for 2 first-round picks and a 4th-round pick in the future.
Yeah, whatever. You wrong.
I'm gonna go off script, Coach. I'm going to play Joe Montana. I'm going to bench Doug Williams.
Yeah, that's way off script. We're gonna stop playing this because y'all don't want to play it right.
I'm a bench Tom Brady. Tom Brady. I'm gonna bench Tom Brady, the 2022 Tom Brady. That's the program I'm going with. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut Peyton Manning because he's gonna develop a good career in comedy, show business, and broadcasting. Yeah.
Well, Richard, once again tonight, you are correct. You are correct. I'm gonna play Joe Montana, and I'm gonna bench Brady, and I'm gonna cut Peyton Manning. I don't need no draft picks for him. I'm just gonna cut him outright.
The only reason I went with Brady over Joe Montana is because Brady started doing it from the very beginning. Now Joe was at Notre Dame and he was a heck of a quarterback in college, and then he went to San Francisco, and he became great. Tom Brady became great from the very beginning. Just as soon as Bledsoe went out, Tom Brady and he did not have those Hall of Fame receivers because John Taylor, Jerry Rice, those guys, Roger Craig. I mean, he didn't have those guys.
Let me ask you this, Coach. Can you name a Super Bowl win that Tom Brady had where he just dominated the game? They won 3 Super Bowl on the last second kick. They beat the Panthers on the last second kick.
I know. But he was a quarterback.
The defense was what caused them to win those Super Bowl.
But San Fran had a fantastic defense too with Ronnie Lott and those guys.
But Montana threw the ball to 2 Hall of Fame receivers too.
That's right.
And they were Hall of Fame receivers because of the quarterback.
And they won 4, Coach.
Yeah.
Tom Brady has won 7. Now remember I was talking to you about that. When we talk about this whole idea about the number of championships, Tom Brady has won 7. And if you're not careful, he may get number 8 this year.
Yeah, well, okay. We'll see about that.
Yeah, well, Montana was as much a part of those championships. I mean, they won championship games because Montana, was
Joe Cool.
Oh yeah, listen. I'm a Montana guy. But I just went with Tom, man.
And those champions,
he's done it a long time.
And
he's just done it a long time.
Just beat people,
And he's done it well, man. And he had. Think about those guys. What Hall of Famers you gonna have up there? You're gonna have Gronk. You can have Gronk.
You already got one in Randy Moss.
No. Randy Moss didn't play with them long enough to go in as a Patriot.
And
nor did I don't think he won a Super Bowl with Mike.
That's when the Giants beat him.
Defeated and lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong either way, I guess. But I wouldn't put Peyton Manning. As a matter of fact, I would have thrown Dan Marino in there as opposed to Peyton Manning.
Yeah. I like Dan Marino, but Peyton won.
He did win one. He did.
And the one the Panthers
and he wasn't the stellar guy that was on the field during that particular time either, because that was your boy.
But some people think that as a quarterback, Peyton is the prototypical quarterback.
Well, that depends on what you deem to be prototypical.
Well, I'm just saying that's what some people think.
Well,
See, I think Terry Bradshaw was the quarterback.
Well,
Terry Bradshaw couldn't spell his name, man. Why
That's
you keep
okay.
bringing him
That's
up?
okay. I don't need him to spell. I didn't ask him to be an academic.
He had the fortunate experience of coming along and playing against Tom Brady. He was playing most of his time the second fiddle to Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, fellas. Our time is up. I think we went over. I think it was a good show. We want to thank Anthony for coming through and giving us some insights on Carolina Courts and all the activities they got going on over there. And I just want to say, y'all be careful during this weather.
Yeah.
And until next time, 2 intellectuals and a fool.
2.
We out.
All right.